Well, hello, good afternoon. This is JFI Radio Live. I am Yousefa Fawcett, your host. Eventually, it might be, well, from here in the UK, it's good afternoon. It could be good evening to you. It could be good morning. Oh my goodness. It really depends on where you're listening from around the world. And I am just delighted to have managed to get online today after over 12 hours of sheer frustration with connections, platforms, peripherals breaking, computer updates times two computers. In fact, I think the universe was saying, do not go live today. But you know what? I kept going. And after numerous cups of coffee, I'm only, hmm, 6 hours late, perhaps a bit more. Well, but I'm here. I'm here and I'm with you. And thank you so much for those of you that may be checking in right now because, normally I'm at 9 o'clock UK time in the morning. So maybe you've got a better chance of seeing me or hearing me live. I am live on YouTube. I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on LinkedIn. And later on in the show, you can even chat to me. Only if you're on Facebook and LinkedIn, though. Sorry, get that right. I told you, it's just been one of those days. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, you can type into the chat and I can feature your comments live. If you're on LinkedIn, you can listen to me live, but they don't have the capability for you to do some live chat. But don't worry. Don't worry. Do you know what? I've given up worrying. I've definitely given up worrying. I really don't know why I'm still smiling. It has been a really tough number of hours. This all started yesterday evening when I was preparing everything, and I should have known then that things were just not rolling the way that they should. You know what? I think one of the topics today needs to be on resilience. Maybe I'll talk about that in a little while. Um, I'm looking at my computer there. I can see that the internet is losing bars again, which is what happened a moment ago when I tried to go live. Let's just hope that I can get through all of this today because I was determined not broadcast. Even that hasn't come out right, has it? It might be a slightly shorter broadcast today, and I'm not sure if it'll even last at all, but I'm going to give it my very best shot because I have that intention every single week to come on live on Friday. So, okay, it's not the morning, so it's the middle of the afternoon. The sun is shining outside today, which is very nice. And I'm going to do my very best to bring you, as ever, some of my stories from the week from my professional areas. And just if this is your first time listening to me on JFI Radio Live, my professional areas are business training and excellence. Well, business training and learning. The excellence bit comes later. AI learning tech, human resources, which is my original background, open education, quality, and yes, business excellence. And I scour the globe. I look for the latest news about all of these areas too, and I bring you a quick roundup to whet your appetite so that you might want to find out more. Now, let me just check the ticker is on the right place. I'm not sure that it is. Let me change that as we speak. One of the key things about being your own sound engineer is that you're doing everything all at once. There we go. How about that one? I think that's about right. So if you go to the main JFI radio website and you scroll down, big blue button, it says replays and links. You will then get the links to all the news that I'm going to bring you a little bit later on. So hopefully I'll get to that point. Oh my goodness. So what on earth have I been up to this week? Well, I have been doing a lot of online workshop facilitation for two different clients. And yeah, I've been using MS Teams, my favorite, not. I use it probably for clients 2 to 3 times a week, every single week, and my settings are exactly the same, and yet it behaves differently every single time. Hmm. But it is what it is, and if my clients want to use that and they bought into Office 365, then that's what I have to use. So I've done lots of online facilitation, usually do it on 2 machines, simply because if one crashes, which sometimes MS Teams forces it to crash, the other one keeps going and vice versa. If they both crash, I have a third machine which I quickly plug in, and I get back to my group that way. So I have a backup to the backup plan. The other thing I want to talk to you about today is CPD. What does that stand for? Continuing Professional Development. Yeah, you were right. CPD. And I have accreditation for a lot of the things that I offer online. JFI Academy is CPD accredited, and I'm putting it out there. I designed it a few years ago, but I haven't really done enough with it. So I'm doing a proper beta launch with it over in Africa by the end of November with my wonderful colleague Nkechi. Nkechi, if you're listening, hello to you, and I hope you're feeling better. So we're going to be starting very soon. So there's accreditation with that, and also I've got a series of short courses that I've been beavering away designing and revamping some of the original designs for 2015. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with me today? 2025, 2015. Where on earth did that come from in my subconscious? It could be because 2015 is when I started podcasting, so I've been doing this 10 years. Gosh, you'd think I'd be better at this by now after doing it for 10 years, and I started live as well. But I'm sorry, I'm telling you now, it really has been one of those days. Do you not know? Have you never had one of those meh days? Do you know what I mean? When you're feeling a bit meh. Well, after all the challenges I've had with technology over the last 24 hours, I'm feeling a bit meh, and caffeine is just not doing it. Um, 2025 is what I meant to say earlier, but you know what? I'm not going to go back over myself. I'm rambling because I sort of knew that today was going to be a very strange podcast. But you know what? That is part of the fun of being live. You see, when you do podcasts, which I started live and then I started doing pre-recorded podcasts. When you do pre-records, you can edit out all of the bloopers and it makes you sound perfect. But when you do these lives, well, trust me, there's no perfect about it. And I didn't imagine for one moment this was going to be my very best podcast, but I certainly still wanted to come. And I wanted to show you that when life throws lots of unexpected challenges at you, it really tests your patience. And I've tried to be so calm today. And just during those moments of frustration, most of the day, I've just tried to keep going. I've unplugged things. I've rebooted things. I've rebooted my router a couple of times. I've got about 5 spare mice. You know, the mouse that you use. Is it mouses or mice? Under normal circumstances, it would be mice, but when it's a computer mouse, do you call it a computer mice? I don't know. Anyway, I have quite a few extra ones of those, and I've plugged all of those in, and either I've had batteries or no batteries. I've got ones on wires, I've got ones on Bluetooth. can you believe every single one I tried was just having a problem? I was almost on the verge of popping out to Argos to go and buy another one, but eventually I managed to find a couple of them working. And I suppose all of the obstacles that I faced today, this morning and all the way through, have just made me even more determined to overcome them, to find a solution to all the problems I was having and keep calm and carry on, and making sure that the tech didn't beat me. I think that's probably the most important thing. I was not going to let the tech beat me, and it hasn't. And I'm just checking my screen. Yes, I am still on with you. Oh, thank goodness for that. Um, you know, in the grand scheme of things, a day full of tech difficulties is really tiny in comparison to all of the really important things that are going on out there. But pushing through, when you are determined, if you can show some resilience when you're having one of those meh days, and you can push through and achieve it in the end, then I just hope that I can start bringing a little bit of joy and maybe a smile to your face today when you hear some of the things that I've been going through. Anyway, so yeah, I did sort of touch on resilience just a little tiny bit. But what I really wanted to talk to you today about was lifelong learning and CPD, which is where I started at the beginning, wasn't it? Which was a lot of those workshops that I've been delivering online have been part of CPD programs. And what's really exciting is that continuing professional development, and I was doing this with a client in the UK and another client in Spain. Well, they were more than Spain, they were Spain, and they had people coming from other areas. And these were all professionals who had done their basic training, and they were keeping themselves up to date. They were already experienced in their fields, but they were eager to stay that way. And that's one of the reasons I love facilitating lifelong learning and doing things that relate to CPD to help people really stay on top of their game. Um, and yeah, that's why we're talking about lifelong learning today a little bit. It's a bit cliched, but I can tell you now, it's still what sets one person apart from another inside an organization. Um, and it's valuable for lots and lots of really good reasons. I mean, I mentioned one already. It's about keeping your skills current. It's about, well, making yourself more visible, better for enhancing your career prospects. If your company, if your organization can see that you take yourself seriously and you invest in yourself and you like learning and you're using that learning, then it not only improves your job performance, but they start to think of you as, hmm, is this somebody who has more to them? Could we look at them for that next role? For that, and the roles don't always have to be straight up the ladder. Of course, they can be side to side. They could be project roles. So, let me look at that person again. There is, of course, another reason for doing CPD, and that is many of us are linked to professional associations, professional bodies. And so they require us to do CPD to prove that we're keeping ourselves up to date, to prove that we're meeting competency requirements, to prove that we're meeting standards. And I'm a chartered fellow of a number of professional associations. So it's not enough that I just develop CPD courses and give them to other people and help them do their CPD. I have to do it for myself too. Otherwise, I wouldn't be congruent and it wouldn't be staying true to who I am. And that's another topic that may be a larger topic for a future broadcast. But certainly with one of my facilitated groups that I was with earlier on in the week, we were talking about management and leadership and authentic leadership. And I'm quite an authentic facilitator as well. I do stick to the script. I do stick to what's there in terms of content, but I can go off-piste just every now and again and bring some authentic me to the table when we're having conversations. And I think people like that. We're moving into an age where we want more from our managers and leaders than those that can just stick to the rule book. And I'm not saying taking huge risks, but certainly allowing your teams to see who you really are. And so that's very much the kind of facilitator I am, and as you can tell, it's very much the kind of broadcaster I am when I'm doing my, the JFI radios. The other thing about CPD, your continuing professional development, is you are better able to cope with change. It gives you a confidence to approach change, to be adaptable as situations change, as environments change. You have to be able to change with it. And you can do that so much more confidently when you know that you're really up to date in your professional field. So it builds your confidence no end. And it gives you loads to talk about. I mean, some of you that are listening to this, maybe you go to conferences, you go to events, either online or you do it in person. And so networking with other people, when you do CPD, you've got so much more to talk about, a wider, broader range of things to talk about within your professional field. And I suppose more than anything else, it just makes you feel good as well. Not just for your better job satisfaction and feeling like you're doing a good job, but you feel quite nice about yourself as well. I love doing desktop research, and I do a lot of it for this radio show. And that is my CPD, and I'm keep on top of it all the time. And I think the big thing, the most important thing to say to all of you, particularly if you are managers and leaders of workforce teams, is if you adopt your mindset to training and learning as being an add-on, an added extra, it's completely the wrong approach, because people will always say, I haven't got time to do that. I haven't got time to do CPD. I haven't got time to do more learning. But in actual fact, if it is part and parcel of who you are and how you work and how you roll, then it's not an extra, and it becomes more natural. It becomes something that you want to do all the time. Now, one of the conversations I had at the beginning of the week with a lovely lady called Rachel. It's a shout out to you, Rachel. She has been fantastic. She is my personal support over at the CPD Standards Office in the UK. So I've been working with them for well over 5 years, and they're the ones that have put me through all sorts of audits and checks to make sure that as a trainer, I can be a verified CPD provider. That comes in really handy when I work with certain clients. And it also means that some of my courses can be CPD accredited, and that means points. CPD hours and points, which you can then, if you're audited in the organization, or perhaps if the professional body wants proof about how you keep yourself up to date, if you attend something that's CPD accredited, then again, it makes it much easier for you to collect things and not just do it because you've got to get the points. You do it because you're learning something of great value. So Rachel's been helping me sort out everything I do. She's even talking about me giving CPD points for the podcast. Now, I have yet to find out a little bit more about this, because the CPD SO does accredited CPD accredited podcasts. So you never know. Maybe JFI Radio Live will become accredited at some point. I just need to find out how on earth you're all going to get CPD hours for listening. But I'll bring you updates on that one a little bit later on. Yes, it verifies. CPD accreditation verifies what you do. It validates what you do. And it tells everyone, it shows everyone that you are of a particular standard and you can be trusted as a content provider, an educator, a facilitator, a trainer, a speaker, maybe even a podcaster. And anyone can create training content these days. Learning content's so easy to produce, particularly if you use AI, but that's another topic for another day. We've done quite a lot on AI here in JFI Radio, so I'm not going down that rabbit hole just today. But when you enter the marketplace and you've got something that has got a quality standard to it, yeah. It it shows a different standard. It shows others that someone else has looked through your material, has looked at the way you do things and says, yeah, that you're striving for excellence. It helps you communicate with your clients in a completely different way. It shows your commitment to professionalism. And that's really important for me. And it shows that you're striving to deliver something that's really world class in your professional field. So, offering CPD accredited courses helps your participants see all that commitment, all that professionalism, all that enhancement through the things that you're offering. It's not just more content, it's content with meaning. Anyway, that's why I do it. And but I don't just give certificates for people that turn up. I make them do a little bit. And that's also with the help of the CPDSO, because they give you a template for certificates, which I use, but on the reverse, they have questions. And so the idea is that you help somebody reflect. So I've gone a little bit further and I've actually adapted that second part, that the back end of the certificate, and I've used the model that I developed in 2021 called Real Empathic Learning. So it's a framework I created in 2021 and it's action oriented. And it's a really powerful tool to get you to reflect. Doesn't matter what you're learning, it gets you to reflect about what you've learned and how you're going to use it. And you can use it in personal development training, you can use it in team training and organizational learning. And okay, let me tell you. The R of real stands for reflection. So that's all about encouraging self-examination, critical thinking, and it gets you to stop, to raise your self-awareness. The E stands for engagement. And that's about emphasizing the importance of team dynamics, of collaboration, of getting people to engage with you in the topic that you've just learned. So that's the R, that's the E. The A. The A is for action. And it's about bridging the gap between what you know and what you do with what you know. And finally, the L is for listening. And believe you me, I have got so much to talk to you about listening, but not now. I'm just finishing off a brand new course, writing a brand new course called Leaders Who Listen, because we need more leaders who will listen, not just hear, but listen. It's really underappreciated skill. And active listening is so important if you want to have engagement and action and more reflection. So you see, you can work it backwards as well as forwards. So you can have real, R-E-A-L, and you can have L-A-E-R. Layer. I was going to say Leah, but it doesn't work out that way, but you can work it backwards as well. Now, I'm in the middle of designing some playbooks related to each of the steps of real, and they all end not with .com, but .training. So you'll be able to find them online from January onwards, and there'll be little green .training, little red .training, little orange .training, and little blue .training. And there will be a whole set of digital living books, little playbooks that you can dip your toe into and learn about how to do each of those 4 aspects of the framework real. Okay, so that is the beginnings of my ramblings. That's what I've been doing regarding my news. And for those of you that have been here before, you know that what comes next is the news from around the world. So I'm just going to press the button. Enjoy.
You're listening to JFI Radio Live. Here's the latest training and learning news from around the globe.
From JFI Radio Newsroom, here are the latest global news headlines. North America. Most university leaders start their new tenure with a new strategic plan, usually covering a period of 5 to 10 years. But John Nicklow, the president of Florida's Institute of Technology, is doing things differently. He believes that the world is changing too rapidly for a static, unchanging agenda, like a strategic plan that just sits on your bookshelf, and has rolled out a dynamic, agile one that has 4 pillars: building people of excellence, creating programs driven by innovation, creating transformative partnerships, and creating optimized social and learning environments. He explains that these are unlikely to change and that they're reviewed at each 6-month update. South America. Gen AI could significantly transform jobs and boost productivity in Latin America and the Caribbean, but existing digital infrastructure gaps may hinder its potential benefits, according to a new research paper from the International Labour Organization and the World Bank. Their research finds that between 26 and 38% of jobs in the region could be influenced by Gen AI. However, the technology is more likely to augment and transform jobs rather than fully automate them. Specifically, 8 to 14% of jobs could see productivity improvements through Gen AI, while only 2 to 5% are at risk of full automation. Europe and the UK. Going back in time, schools across Europe are banning mobile phones in the classroom. Calvian College in the Netherlands was one of the first to start banning mobile phones, resulting in a national ban being introduced in January 2024. Originally, just 20% of parents, teachers and students backed the idea in 2018, but pushing ahead, the college is no longer the only one going smartphone free. 200 schools in France are testing a ban, and in Italy and Greece they're taking a softer approach, banning them just in classrooms. Recent research in Netherlands report that 20% of students feel less distracted and that teachers notice them being more attentive and focused on their learning, with more real-life social interactions, and a reduction in cyberbullying as students were offline more of the time. Africa. The third KIC Symposium will take place from the 20th to the 22nd of November at the African Union Conference Centre in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Ministries of education, researchers, academics, teacher representatives and development agencies in sub-Saharan Africa will come together for the theme Building Resilient Systems for Increased Access to Inclusive, Quality and Relevant Education in Africa. The KIC's Africa 19 Hub is managed by UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, the UNICEF Eastern and Southern African Regional Office, and the African Union. The symposium aims to promote discussion about evidence-based research and bridge gaps between research, policy and practice, in line with the 2024 Year of Education in Africa. Asia. The Presidency for Turks Abroad, YTB, brought together graduates from Bosnia-Herzegovina who completed their higher education, and they met together at the Turkish Embassy in Sarajevo. The alumni of various Turkish universities, with YTB President Abdullah Eren, emphasized the special significance of Bosnia-Herzegovina to Turkey, noting that alumni associations exist in 34 countries globally, with Bosnia holding a unique place due to its historical and cultural ties with Turkey. Stability in the Balkans, he said, depends on Bosnia maintaining its own stability. Nearly 1,000 students from Bosnia have graduated from Turkish universities. However, we face a migration issue, he said, with not only Bosnia but all Balkan countries seeing their skilled workforce migrate to European countries. Eren said this offers us an opportunity to address this by bringing together graduates with local business leaders and professional managers. The Middle East. His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Chairman of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council, attended the inauguration in September of the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, in Abu Dhabi, the first international campus of India's leading STEM education and research institution. Agreed in July 2023 between Abu Dhabi Department of Education and Knowledge, the Indian Institute of Technology Delhi and the Ministry of Education of India, the aim was to establish an Abu Dhabi campus complementing the ongoing UAE and India Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, reflecting the shared vision of both nations to prioritise educational excellence, innovation, knowledge exchange and investment in human capital as the foundations for future prosperity and enablers of long-term economic growth and sustainable development. Australia and New Zealand. And finally, Australian researchers are developing artificial intelligence technology to provide around-the-clock assistance for tertiary students in remote areas. A Curtin University study in 2017 demonstrated a correlation between poor attrition rates and remote study offerings in Australian universities as online students struggle to remain motivated. But a team of researchers hope an online automated pedagogical conversation agent, CA, may keep students engaged. Presented as a virtual tutor, the CA behaves similarly to an online chatbot, but is more complex in that it's trained to answer student queries about class content and assessments. Dr. Jha and a team of researchers designed the conversational agents and ran a 2-year trial at Central Queensland and Macquarie universities across multiple subjects. They are designed to mimic a human, but unlike humans, can be contacted at any time and will provide social and human connections to the students. That's been your Global Weekly News Roundup. Please come back and join me next week. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the news. Covered an awful lot of things there. And each time I look for things to do with business training, with learning, with AI learning tech, with human resources, open education quality and business excellence. And next week, the whole show is about open education as opposed to just education generally. And today there were lots of different things that I was covering. And you can see also that I've been trying to just check the chat is working because so much has gone wrong today. I didn't want the chat not to work, but it seems to. I can see here I'm looking on various screens to make sure that everything's working. Now I want to pick up just one of the news items that really piqued my interest, and this one was from Europe, UK, Republic of Ireland. I sort of put those into a little segregated pack, and this was about going back in time in schools and about banning mobile phones in the classroom. Now, as I reported in the news, this started in Netherlands in 2018, and whereas it wasn't very popular to begin with just 20% of parents and others liking the idea, it seems to be catching on. I mean, they've gone completely towards it being something that is now expected and is legislated in the Netherlands. Really interesting about going smartphone free. And now France is joining in. And now Italy is joining in. And Greece is joining in. I don't think we have yet in the UK, but I'm just wondering how this is going to progress, especially with the BYOD brigade. Do you know what that is? BYOD? Bring your own device. And of course, we don't have to tell children to bring their own device to school, but we sometimes have to tell some adults to bring their own devices into the classroom, whether it is learning or not. And Andres, thank you. Thank you for telling me it's working. Actually, Andres, if you're listening to this, by the way, Andres is over in Norway. I'll be with you next week, Andres. I cannot wait. This question, though, I really would be interested in your comments about it, because if this is going to be a growing trend where we're saying don't bring your own device, don't have your smartphone on in any kind of classroom, if we're talking children, or training room, if we're talking adults and adult learning, which I know is where you're about, adult learning, that of course changes the flavour of an awful lot of things, doesn't it? I'd really love to know what your opinion is. Please just type into the chat. Now, by the way, if anyone else wants to type in as well, what you do is you go to that live tab in YouTube and you type in there and it'll pop up on my screen just like it did with Andres just now, and then I can respond to you live. So okay, maybe I'm just talking to you, Andres, for the moment, but others might come in later on. Is this a good move? Is this trend a good trend or not? Now, obviously, as reported in the news, there's better attention, there's more focus when you're not being distracted by your phone. But then a lot of trainers have been learning for the last few years how to use online engagement tools like Poll Anywhere, like Mentimeter, like Padlet, and a lot of people that come to adult learning classes don't bring a whole laptop with them. They might bring their phone. So if we're wanting to do a poll, if we're wanting to get engagement with people, we're saying, take your phone out and go to that URL link and tell me, let's do a poll. Where are you all from, etc. So if this trend is going to be, well, let's stop taking mobile phones into learning environments. Let's just do without them and have more social interaction so people are not getting distracted. I wonder what educators might think about that. Obviously, as an educator, an instructional designer myself, if that's going to be the trend, then maybe that changes the way you design your teaching materials that require those IT interventions. More importantly, if young people, if the Gen Alphas of this world are following this trend in Netherlands, in France, in Greece, in Italy, then in 5 to 10 years' time, those students are going to be coming into adult education, whether it's formal adult education or whether it is lifelong learning and informal environments, and they will have got used to not having their phone. So again, that's going to change some of the design aspects. I just think it's a really interesting move. And in many respects, it's absolutely perfect within schools. but it does change the landscape a little bit. And at a time when we're talking constantly about AI tech and we're talking constantly about how we work with technology, there's this trend that's just starting that says, let's not use it as much as we do from a mobile device in a learning environment. As I said, really interested in your views. Now, if any of you want to contribute to my news reports, then you can send things to me. So let me change the ticker and I'll show you where you can send it to. There we go. I think that's the one. Send me your news to studio@jfiradio.com. I can then feature your news in the news reports. And if you want to go back and listen to any old podcasts, let me change the ticker for you there. There you go. I can't believe it. Technology is finally working today. All the back episodes of JFI Radio since 2015 are available on Spotify. So that's tinyurl/JFIR dash Spotify. Here it comes round again. Don't miss it. Take a screenshot if you need to. Jot it down. tinyurl.com/JFIR dash Spotify. And you can pick up the back episodes, not just of my early lives, for those of you who want to hear how I sounded like 10 years ago, probably a bit like this as well, but also the pre-records that I've done. Also, lots and lots that's there. Just to remind you as well that if you want the links behind any of the stories that I covered today in the news reports, then go to jfiradio.com, scroll down, big blue button. It says replays and links, and you'll see them in about 10 minutes. I'll put them in there and you can then chase up anything that I've covered that interested you. I really appreciate any of you that are listening to this live or on replay. Your support means absolutely everything. And next week, oh, have I got a show for you? Next week, I'm going to be in Norway. I'm going to be in Hammer. I'm going to be with Andres. And, oh my goodness. Oh, hold on. I've got a comment as well. I have to come back to that in just 1 second. But yes, I'll be in Norway and I will be live from Norway. What are you saying to me, Andres? In Norway, phones in schools from August and the effect has been positive. No phones, I think you mean, from August, and the effect has been positive regarding concentration on class. But how is it going to impact learning is still a question to be answered. That is such an important point. Thank you so much, Andres. And I didn't realise that Norway was following the trend of the rest of Europe. I'm not sure. I have to find out what's happening in the UK, actually. Certainly the reports that have come out thus far is that young people are learning how to interact socially in person. But after that, I don't know. But it's really exciting to see where this is going. So thank you so much for your comment. I really has been banned. Oh, I just put that second one. Has been banned. Oh, right. Okay. Phones have been banned. How interesting. I don't know if you remember from the news, Italy and Greece have just gone softly, and they're allowing the phones in the playgrounds. This is in schools, but they're not allowing them in the class, whereas the Netherlands have said not in the class. And you're saying, an update to the news, that in Norway, the phones are banned. I think we need to watch this. I think we need to watch it and see what happens, most definitely. Thank you for that update, Andres. I really appreciate it. Okay, just to remind you then, next week, I'll be in Norway. I will be live. I'll be broadcasting to you. I cannot wait. It is going to be so exciting. And of course, the work that I'm going to be doing over in Norway is all around adult learners and lifelong learning. So that will be continuing. The time, technology permitting, is going to be 9 a.m. UK time, 10 a.m. CET, Central European Time, and you're just going to have to check timeanddate.com for the exact time in your location. And next week is a special. Everything on the show is to do with open educational resources. I'm on the OER Advocacy Committee at ICDE. Big shout out to my lovely colleagues on the Advocacy Committee. Next week, it's all OER. Thank you all so very much for listening. I appreciate it every single time. Have a fabulous weekend and bye for now. JFI Radio now.